Hello, all, and welcome back to a new episode of Movies and Us, a weekly gathering place filled with conversations about movies, stories, and connection. My name is Jennifer Hahn.
And I'm Sarah Callan.
And today we are going to be talking about the film that has been getting so much buzz. It's Marty Supreme. Sarah, do you want to kick us off with a summary for Marty Supreme?
Sure. Marty Mauser, a young man with a dream no one respects, goes to hell and back in pursuit of greatness.
Hell and back.
Right? Wow.
He's probably going to go back again and do that run for the rest of his dang life. Okay, what is your one-sentence summary for Marty Supreme?
My summary is, people will go to extreme lengths for their pets.
Yes! The most gripping sequence of the entire movie, really.
Honestly, though.
My one-sentence summary is, be an orange ping pong ball in a sea of white ping pong balls.
Excellent. Well done.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's dive in. We're going to do a high-level thoughts review of Marty Supreme before we give the spoiler alert. So, Sarah, I'm curious your thoughts about Marty Supreme. We have been anticipating this for quite a while. So, how did this land for you?
Yeah. This worked for me. I was honestly a little nervous because I was expecting like an uncut gems experience, and that is such a stressful film that I've now watched twice for the podcast. So I never want to watch Uncut Gems again, as great as it is, because it is too stressful. And so I was concerned that Marty Supreme was going to be as stressful as Uncut Gems, and it wasn't for me. It's obviously like very overstimulating, very stressful, all the shenanigans, but it didn't like affect me like Uncut Gems did. So I think I was able to have like more fun with this. I found myself laughing a lot in the theater, and I don't know if you're supposed to be laughing at this film, but I found it hilarious. Yeah. So I don't know if that says something weird about me. But I think that this is just, I mean, it's such a great film to experience in the theater and like feel that like overwhelming anxiety, that just like propulsive kinetic energy that this film has. And I think the writing in this is really sharp. It's really smart. I think the way that the characters are constructed is really, really fitting for this type of a film that helps you just continue to go on this journey. So yeah, I had a great time. I now understand all the buzz that this film is getting, and it's definitely warranted.
Nice. So you came out with your all your atoms intact, unlike Uncut Gems where they were scattered in 10 million directions. You really, that movie really affects you quite much, because when we had to watch it again for our A24 Gauntlet episode, you were very apprehensive about the experience going in.
Yeah. I remember after seeing Uncut Gems in the theater, I drove home in silence. I just sat in my apartment on my couch in silence for a while. Like I went outside and went for a walk in silence and like had to touch grass. Like it was very much like, oh my gosh, I don't know how to move forward with my day after Uncut Gems. And Marty Supreme wasn't like that. I was able to like listen to music on the way home and get back to work and all of the things. So I was able to move about my day, unlike Uncut Gems, which totally derailed my life for a few hours.
Props to that movie for being able to have such a visceral experience for you. Yeah. So Marty Supreme is a film that I have been anticipating for a long time. And then I saw all of the rave reviews rolling in, and I was like, oh, this is apparently really good. People are comparing it to Uncut Gems, which is a film that I adore. And so I was excited, but worried, because that happens sometimes. And I go in and I'm like, oh, it's not what I wanted it to be. It's not what I wanted it to be. And I'm happy to report that Marty Supreme is everything I wanted and more. I absolutely adore this movie. It really worked for me. It worked for me on just like a visceral experiential level, but it also worked for me in all of the meat and the themes and the substance of what this film is looking to say. I had such an amazing time with this movie. I think I've gathered that I love a film with an incredibly unlikable protagonist who is like voraciously, frenetically pursuing after something that they really need to just like mellow out about. But the obsessiveness is thrilling for me to watch. And when there's kind of this like twisted morality and you're rooting for them, but they're such a terrible person. I love that push pull experience. And that relationship with a character. So Marty Supreme has all of that and more. So yeah, this worked quite well for me, and it lives up to all of its hype. So big fan of this movie.
And you saw this with your parents.
I did.
And I would like to know a little bit about their high level reviews of this film, too, because this is an experience.
It was actually really fun. I saw it in suburbia and PA over this period of time with the fam, and packed house, which was really exciting. Yeah, we saw it at 6:45 p.m. on a Friday night, which helps. But packed house, and we were back row, so I got to just see all of the little heads peeping out in the silhouettes in front of me, which was very exciting as a movie lover to see people going to the movies, especially for a film like this and showing up for it. The parents had kind of, I think, split views on this. My father really loved it, found it hilarious. There were multiple times throughout the movie where something would happen, a reveal would happen, and I just hear my father from the left of me go, "Oh shit," very audibly. I was like, "Dad, be quiet, be respectful of the movie going experience," but also I understand proper reaction. Like I am also having that experience when big scary people show up or like, So that was fun to see him get like lost in the movie and he was laughing the whole time. My mother is a very different movie watcher. She loves to have films that have a message, a purpose, a thesis, a manifesto to make the world a better place. And this was not the movie for her. So she's not really a fan of this. She's like, what is the point of this movie? What is this movie trying to say? Like, you can be an asshole and still be great? Like, I don't really like that, you know? And I'm like, yeah, well, that's kind of the point. So anyway, split perspectives, but yeah. It was very fun to go and watch this movie. I watched Avatar Fire and Ash with them. It's a very different experience. They went in pretty blind too, so this is a fun time.
Nice. Oh, that's so much fun. And especially seeing this just in a crowded theater is,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
that's how you want to experience this film.
Yeah, yeah. This movie's hilarious. I actually was surprised there wasn't more laughter throughout the film.
Mm.
I was cracking up in my seat, and I would only hear like one or two chuckles throughout the film. So maybe it's just because the sound design is so loud that it
Yeah.
drowns out everybody's under the breath chuckles. But yeah, I found this really funny as well. So maybe we're just deranged.
Which is all right, apparently, because then you have a
Hmm.
great time watching Marty Supreme. So,
Yeah.
it's a fine time.
Yes. So good. All right. Well, let's give a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Marty Supreme yet, like Sarah mentioned, definitely go see this in a theater. I think it totally just elevates and opens up the experience for you of what Marty Supreme is trying to do, and the sensory experience that is Marty Supreme is essential as well to this film. So, all right. Let's dive in. There's much to talk about. I'm curious, Sarah, for you, what were some of those moments or choices that Marty Supreme makes that really worked for you?
I think for me, what impresses me the most about Marty Supreme is that what you were talking about with the protagonist is just a terrible person. He's so unlikable. I hated Marty so much. He was so frustrating. And I was like, you are the literal worst. And yet, there's something interesting about him that makes me want to
Yes.
keep following him I was actually like after the movie was over and kind of like reflecting on that, I thought about our conversation that we had a little while ago with Tom and Dana on the Gmote podcast. We went on their show and reviewed Raging Bull, and one of Tom's concerns about that film is that Jake is just so unlikable and he
Yeah.
just kind of sucks the entire film. And I feel that way about Marty in this film,
Mhm.
but there's something in, I think, Timothée Chalamet's performance, in the writing. He has this charisma that I'm like, I don't like you, but I want to keep following you because you're gonna get into this like next zany shenanigan that I can't even fathom, and I want to watch that. There's something interesting in this person
Yeah.
that I want to keep watching, even though I'm frustrated by him and was frustrated the entire 2.5 hour experience. And I think that that's
Mhm.
a really hard balance to find in the writing of a character. So
Yeah.
I was really impressed by that you can be frustrated by this person for 2.5 hours and yet not be turned off from the movie. And I think that's quite an achievement.
Mhm. Yes. There's something magnetic about him that you can really understand too some of the other characters in his orbit, which I think makes the film work as well as it does. Because if we cannot understand why Kay and Rachel and his other friends that are constantly just like showing up from like they're reluctant, but they're just like, I don't know what it is, but I just gotta show up and find out, you know? I think because we feel that as the audience, it makes us actually understand why these characters again and again and again are showing up for this character that has wronged them a million times before, has screwed them over, has manipulated them, and yet we're like, I think I might do the same thing too, you know? Like, okay, Marty, what do you need this time? I guess here's some more money for you to go achieve your dreams. There's this movie would be so much more frustrating to watch if we also couldn't understand why they were buying into him as much as they do, even though they know there's nothing good here for them and it's gonna end poorly, but they just can't help it. And I think for us as the audience too, at least for me, like I can't just help it. I'm like, okay, you're gonna do your dream again. I guess we got to get you to Japan. And I think there's something about the way Timothy Chalamet like brings this character to life that he's unlikable, but he's also passionate and he's brilliant and he's creative, and that tenacity we kind of love to root for too, like someone with a direction, a purpose, and they're barreling forward in the world. And there's something that's magnetic about someone who doesn't care what anybody else thinks and is willing to just go after what they want with that level of gusto. Uh, he leaves a whole slew of chaos in his wake, but there's something about that spirit that I think we just buy into that we love to watch.
Yeah, and even if we don't like buy into it, it is fascinating to watch. Like it
You're
is.
like, I did not buy into this.
I did not. I was like, what is wrong with you, buddy? This does not make any
Oh.
logical sense. Like, and even like the people that were enabling him, I'm like, I understand why you're doing this, but also stop. But it's still fascinating to watch. It's a train wreck, you know? Like
Oh.
you know that you should look away, but you can't because you
Mhm.
don't know what's going to happen next. And I feel like that's what Marty Supreme does really, really well is it's utter chaos and you don't know what hijinks he's going to get up to next because there's
Yeah.
no way that he's going to go about getting to Japan in a normal logical, I don't know, straightforward fashion. Like he has to take the
Yeah.
most like zany and circuitous route, and that is really entertaining to watch.
Mhm. Mhm. And he finds himself in a pickle moment to moment, second to second, and he always finds a way to weasel his way out of it. Whether it's because his emotional intelligence is so high and he can read the people around him, so he knows exactly how to manipulate him to get them what he wants, or he's come up with some like incredible zany idea that no one would dare to do, but he just is once again barreling forward throughout life. One of the things that I found really interesting about this film that really like worked so well for me. And it really clicked for me, I think, of how this was working this entire time by the last match of the film is these power dynamics. I think that it's essential that Marty is, for to me, I view him as an individual looking to achieve a dream in very terrible ways, but looking to achieve a dream against a system of power that is so oppressive, and they are the ones calling the shots. So the moment earlier that we see him have that conversation with Rockwell, and Rockwell says to him in the most menacing way, "You have no power here." I'm like, this is the movie. This is what the movie is looking to do and say, is like, as much as we hate this character, we love to see someone go up against the powers that be, that think they're invincible, that are controlling society and the system and opportunities for people. And we love to see someone stick it to the man, truly, by the end of the movie. And there's something alluring about someone who's willing to do that, because most of us in our own day to day lives exist within the powers and systems that exist, and we just keep our heads down and play by the rules. And I think that's the interesting moral dilemma, especially in that final match. I'm like, I'm not rooting for you because I don't want you to be rewarded to think that you can live this way and win. But also, I kind of want to see you do what you want and have Rockwell's whole scheme go to shit, because he can't get what he wants time and time again. And so I think that's the interesting moral dilemma, is that Marty represents a type of tenacity that's willing to rebel and go against a system of power that is very real and very American, and kind of love to root for that too. So I think that's the under complicating factor in our relationship with this incredibly flawed, terrible human being.
Yeah, and I love that, he doesn't change the entire system, It
Hmm.
I feel like a lot of movies that are about, like sticking it to the man and like especially like sports movies that are about that, it's like, "Oh, we triumph and now everything will change." And I love that this movie is about that, but also not about that. It's just
Yeah.
about this guy pushing up against the system, but then also rediscovering that there are other priorities in life and there are
Mm-hmm.
other people in his life that are maybe more important than, chasing this dream. And what does it look like when a dream is replaced maybe with another dream that you didn't even consider before. So I love that so much of the film is focused on that, and then it it's not about that in the end. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that makes this film more interesting than if it had just been about, pushing back against power and then he triumphs in the end. Like,
Yeah.
that's a cool story. We love those. Those are feel good, excellent. But I appreciate that this film is like, hey, I'm gonna give you that, and then we're gonna do something else. Surprise.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to talk about the ending of this film, because as the movie was nearing its end, I was thinking to myself, like, where the film chooses to have this character's end be is going to be so pivotal to the thesis of the film. And we trust the softies aren't going to give us the like victorious ending and he triumphs, because this is not a character to root for. Where he's not like this guy from the small town that like trains so hard, and we get the training montages, and then he goes up and beats the big bad terrible system. Like, that's not this character at all. It's a lot more complicated than that. But similar to The Hunt, the ending of that film is such an exclamation point on the thesis of what this movie is trying to say. I was thinking, hoping that we would actually get a more tragic ending for this character, where he wins the final match, but he either like achieves essentially eternal like haunting from Rockwell, or he dies because Rockwell cannot stand to have his ego and his pride thwarted in that way. So he achieves a personal triumph, a personal self actualization, but at the cost of literally his life. Which is kind of a mixed ending, which I would have loved personally. It's more of the uncut gems route. But instead, we get this other mixed ending too, where he goes back to his family and seems to have this moment of a real genuine emotion. It was interesting talking with my family about it. They read that ending to be a little bit more positive leaning of like he realized that like what's most important is to be back with his family. Like all of this was really great, but like the cost is so high and ultimately like this is what's most important. I am like, "Oh no." When he says he's in the hospital and he's like, "I'm never going to leave you again, Rachel." I'm like, he's not keeping that promise. Like the way that he is wired, he is so restless. The ego is so strong that this cycle will continue again and again. So I read that ending almost tragic in a different way because we don't get to see the tragedy, but I don't know, I felt like this child is going to grow up without his father. Rachel's going to be screwed over again and again and again because he cannot keep himself away from the need to prove himself. And there will be the new thing, the new Japan to conquer, that he feels this insatiable desire to have to go again to prove himself in some way to who knows what, but to himself. So I'm curious how you read that ending, that last shot, him at the hospital, looking at his son, real genuine emotion. Where do we think it goes from there? And what does that say about what the Safdie one, Benny Safdie wants to say about this story?
Yeah, yeah. I also wanted more tragedy. I don't know what I wanted, but I didn't want like a happy feel good ending. I I think it's tragic honestly either way cuz Rachel is screwed either way. Like she is the
Yeah.
one that I was focused on is
Oh, yeah.
ma'am, your life is going to be chaos either way because either you are a single mom raising this kid in an environment that is not easy to raise a kid by yourself,
Oh,
or you have this guy who's going to help you raise this kid. And holy cow, he is just chaotic. And so I was like, either way, she has blown up her life. And
yeah.
I think that's what I was focused on at the end. Like,
Mm,
Marty, yes, he comes back and he has the emotional experience, which is real and valid. And it could either be that, yeah, he tries to change and he stays, or it's a moment of emotion and then he just goes right back to who he is as a person. Either way, I was just like, man, Rachel, this sucks for you.
yeah.
Like either way. I hope you have a good support system outside of him cuz you're going to need it. But I think in that ending, even though I don't she doesn't even like say anything. She's just laying there resting, but I think with that ending I was mostly focused on her rather than
Yeah.
Marty and just yikes.
Yes. She's the character that loses the most in the film, that suffers the most. Like, I think Kay is in the orbit, but Kay has chosen to align herself and link herself up to the people in power. And she will choose that ultimately, time and time again. So she's taken care of. Also, lonely, tragic character, but Rachel's the one that literally loses in all areas of life. There are no resources, no system in place to help support her, and there's no emotional support for her either. I mean, Marty or Ira, both terrible
Both are
choices.
bad.
Yeah, let's choose option D, none of the above.
Yes. Well, and she gets shot too in like that
My
whole
gosh.
thing and then has a baby in the process presumably. Like wow, just this girl. I mean, talk about hell and back. That's what Rachel goes through, not Marty.
Yeah.
Oh, I felt so bad for her and like that like her consistent coming back to Marty, I think is also really interesting and
Mm-hmm.
indicative of that I have nowhere else to go because
Yeah.
she can't go back with her husband who is violent and a loose cannon and not a good guy. And so then Marty is her like next best option, which is not a good option. And even when she's trying to like go through with the dog exchange by herself, it's
Oh,
obviously like wanting to get money for Marty too, but how much of that was also wanting to like secure her own future and the future of her child too, because she doesn't have that economic stability. that she had when she was with her husband.
Yeah.
I just, oh gosh, I I felt so bad for her the entire movie. Oh, what a tragic character.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so tough. And um gosh, I think that's what's also really interesting about Rachel's character, which I really love that was written into the film, is that she's incredibly intelligent and bright and creative as well. You know, like homegirl knows how to put some eyeshadow on her eye to get what she wants. And so you see why her and Marty obviously have this connection, but also like she can fare for herself well. She just doesn't have opportunity. And I think that's something that is so I felt so much for so many of the characters in this film. It's a film about those that are in the bottom tiers of society trying to desperately provide enough for themselves or have enough to make it, and it's impossible. That constant desperate attempt to try and find stability is so elusive. So we also felt that with Wally's character, and that desperate attempt to try and like, I have a family, I need money, I need to provide for them, we made a bunch of money but now it's all lost, now my cab's broken. Like I think that cycle, that like vicious terrible cycle of characters trying to cleverly crawl their way up the ladder, and it's near impossible. They get just like, I feel like they make like two steps forward and they get knocked seven pegs down again. And we I think that's part of also why Marty is such an interesting character as well, because we feel that impossibility that he's just bumping up against this system that will constantly keep him down, him and his friends and his girlfriend and all of it, because they just don't have enough resources.
Yeah, and it's just so interesting to watching this, and he has, he is with one friend and has a scheme, and then by the end of the scheme, Marty is able to leave relatively scot-free while the friend is in a much worse position. And I feel like that's we see that over and over and over again in this film, and I think that that's another interesting complicating factor in Marty too, is he seems to be able to just move on, and the way that I read it while I was watching is exploit the goodwill of his friend, the next friend down the line, and that makes me dislike him even more. But man, is it entertaining to watch. So it's that interesting conflict within you as the audience member of like, I don't want to root for this guy. There's nothing about me that wants him to win. And yet I'm having so much fun watching him try. Okay, this is what
Mm-hmm.
we're doing the entire 2.5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what does that say about us as viewers too? That we just can't help but watch the train wreck unfold in front of us. That there's something cathartic. I found this movie very cathartic. That might be weird and deranged and say more about me, but I found it quite cathartic to see this character like voraciously just run in the direction of what he wants, and um the chaos along the way. And I think it's maybe interesting for us because in the same dynamics that we have with action action movie protagonists, where we trust they're they are competent and capable to tackle every next action sequence, I think there's an inherent trust we have in Marty and this story that he's going to find a way out. So it's interesting to see him pressed into new and more big and deranged situations to see what he will do again. What will he do again? You know, and I think that's also maybe part of the push pull, the forward momentum of this film too, is that the circumstances continue to become bigger and the stakes are higher, and he's pressed in new ways, and yet he always finds a way. He always finds a way. So let's throw him in the next thing and see how he's going to get out of the next thing. That's something interesting about that for us. It's like a puzzle
And I
movie.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that it's not a like series of successes that then
Hmm.
leads him to the final thing, but it's a series of failures. And
Mm.
that is interesting because you'll see, he'll make progress and things will be going well, and it looks like he's going to get what he wants, and then something happens and he loses everything essentially, and then he has to try again in a different way, and it's just again and again and again him persisting in the face of failure, which, I mean, is insane to watch him do, because like at some point you just gotta call it quits, my guy. But I think that's interesting to watch, that tenacity that you were saying of, he has failed so many times. He's been so close to success, and then something has gone wrong, and he is not willing to stop. And there's something interesting about that from a character who's just,
Mhm.
okay, we just got to keep going.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And I think one of the other interesting aspects about his willingness to continue to go and go and go again, time and time again, is that it is so born from pride and ego. But in the paddle spank sequence, I was that I think was one of the most thrilling sequences to me, other than maybe the final match, because there's this moment hanging in the balance of like, will he be willing to give his pride over for this moment in order to ultimately get to what he wants? And he chooses to. He chooses to like essentially like embarrass himself in this act in front of all these men in power in order to achieve the thing that he feels like he needs to prove to himself. And I think that's when the way that I viewed this character also began to shift too, because up until that point, it's all just pride and ego everywhere in all flavors and directions. But that is a moment where I'm like, no, this character is actually just truly obsessed. It's ultimately about ego, as he was supposed to prove it to himself, but he's truly willing to trade in so much in order to get to that. And I think there's so many other unlikable protagonists in films that ego is so strong that they would walk away. They'd be like, that's nice. I would never do that. Right. But this is not that character. He is willing to like lower himself to this in this way to achieve his ultimate goal. And that desperation, that willingness, that obsession, that's something different than that classic prideful, clever, egotistical character that we see that would never choose to trade that in.
I wondered in that scene if Rockwell was going to screw him over.
Mhm.
That is, I wondered if that's where the movie was wanting to go, because like Marty finally humbles himself. He does this whole thing on his hands and knees, and then I was obviously embarrassed. And would the billionaire corporate owner who has been frustrated by this
Mhm.
kid just be like, oh, whoops, agreement is gone, you don't get to come? I was wondering if that was where the movie was going to go, but I do
Same.
appreciate that we see Rockwell throughout that time in Japan just continuing to like poke at Marty, and like he's in line waiting, and he has to then go to the back of the line again and again and again, and just continuing to have to like lower himself. And so that felt very fitting for this billionaire corporate bad guy, to continue to find ways to get at this kid that has been such an annoyance for him for so long.
Mhm. Mhm. It's so menacing. Like genius to cast Kevin O'Leary. Like so good. Well done. I yes. I'm like, yeah, that's that guy. We know what he represents immediately. But I think that is the under I think that is the most menacing force in this movie. It's actually not Marty. I mean, Marty is terrible, and we've already listed 10 million reasons why. But I think it's the people that are running and pull the puppet masters that hold all the power, that are the ultimate ones, that are orchestrating behind the scenes all of this, and so many of our characters that are suffering, that are the Rachels of the world, the Willies of the world, they are the ones that are at the mercy of the Rockwells of the world. And I think that makes this film much more interesting, because it's not really about Marty, but it's more about what Marty represents within the larger system. So I love the way that the film gives us such a scoped individual story. But unlike a lot of movies about a character like Marty, it's not about Marty. It's what Marty represents within this larger system of the way the society works. And I think that makes it so much more layered and more exciting than just a character, a egotistical character. We've seen that 10 million times in movies and TV.
I also love that moment when he, he's worked so hard, he's gotten to Japan, he has the money or is going to have the money, and he's talking to the ping pong official, and he says like, this was a waste. You did it all for nothing. And I thought that that was such a brilliant moment too, because we
Yeah.
have this moment. Marty has humbled himself. He is embarrassing himself publicly. Like he is
Yeah.
prepared to do the thing, and it's all for nothing. And I think that that's another really smart thing about this film is that it wasn't just that he got to Japan, he got the money, then he can play in the tournament. It's he did all this and it was for nothing. So
Mhm.
what is his next step after that? I think is really interesting. It's a good like complicating factor, and also just showing, man, it's hard to win in systems that are built like this, and the whole like the associations and leagues around sports are crazy, and there's a lot of corruption there and all of that. So there's
Mhm.
so many things that like that little piece does, I think, for the story and the character, but also for a lot of these like larger themes that you were just talking about.
Mhm. And gosh, fear the person that has like nothing to lose or everything to
Right.
lose, like they have that's the moment where he's like, nothing matters. I should just do whatever I want now. And I don't need to answer to anybody because I've got the person that I'm trying to show that I can beat right in front of me, set up for me. So at whatever cost it is to me, like this is my moment to prove myself. And it's so interesting to watch the way that Marty knows how to work the crowd. He knows how to work the Japanese player to get him to buy in. Like, you want to beat me for real, like not none of this fake stuff, the 21 to 14 business. Like, you want to prove yourself too. He's tapping into the ego of the other character. He knows what the crowd wants, and he can work the crowd. And I think that's an interesting theme that's baked into the story too, around the idea of performance. Like so much of what we see in business, in media, in sports, and everything we consume, it's all just a show, and it's all orchestrated and constructed to have a certain image, a certain narrative arc. So we got to see that obviously in this Rockwell promo event. But even the side plot with Kay and her opening night performance in the packed house, all for show. Like none of those people bought tickets because her rich husband has flooded the seats and paid people to show up. Like that it's an interesting commentary that Josh Safdie has of like everything you see around you is constructed, carefully created. Like suspension of doubt for a lot of what we see around us, I think is really fascinating too. And Marty at one point literally says to one of the characters, "Hey, I'm a performer too," and he knows how to garner attention, favor in whatever ways he needs. And so I think that's an interesting aspect of this too. The idea of performance and how like everything around us is performative for a purpose, for a narrative arc, for a brand.
Yeah, I kept on thinking about like professional wrestling and
Yeah.
like, you know, it's a performance and all of the like kayfabe and like all of that stuff that happens outside, and the bad guys and the good guys. I don't remember their names off the top of my head, but the way that narrative helps enhance the actual sporting event, because there's all of this intrigue and build up, and
Yeah.
okay, who's going to win? Who's going to do it? I also just loved seeing Marty try and work the crowd and work the refs with a language barrier. And I thought that was really just interesting to watch him have to navigate, and he gets his like little translator friend and is like, hey, tell him this, I want this. And even with the translator, even the with the language barrier, he is still able to animate everybody and get them to want to buy into this big match, which is absolutely as thrilling as it's billed to be.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to use words. He's just like,
No.
I'm this guy
Right.
on the poster.
That's me.
You know the history here. Don't you want to see it?
Yeah. It was so good.
Oh, that's part of Marty's genius, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
he knows how to work everybody.
Yeah.
You hate to see it, gosh.
You
But it's
do
very
hate
good.
to see it, but you can't look away because it's so entertaining. The conflict of this film is he's a terrible person and I don't want to root for him. I didn't want him to win in Japan. I wanted him to lose that match. But at the same time, I'm so entertained watching him try. So let's keep going.
Meanwhile, I'm like, I hope he wins so that we can stick it to Rockwell. Like, I just loved
Yes, that's
the
great.
cuts to Kevin O'Leary's face just fuming in the
Yes.
audience. And I think that, gosh, we have to talk about the cinematography and the editing of this film, the score, the technical components that like add so much to the atmosphere of this. Uh, the way that the camera is moving during a lot of the table tennis matches is so well done. Like, there's so many times where the ball is going out of frame and the camera is turning like for a few seconds over, but like the balls are moving so fast that like it's got to swing all the way back. And so you feel that like visceral, dizzying experience of having to watch a high stakes, high caliber table tennis match where the pace is that fast. And I think that those camera shifts constantly were kind of dizzying and knocks you off your balance. And I think those were really effective. So gosh, we've got to sing the praises of the technical pieces of Marty Supreme.
Oh my gosh, just incredible. Like I I want to go watch this again because there is so much going on that I feel like I wasn't able to like fully appreciate a lot of the technical components while watching it. But I really loved those times when the camera takes a wider angle and you can see both players, especially when they're like playing off of the whatever the table, I don't remember what a table tennis table is called, but when they're far away and they're doing all of their trick shots and all of that stuff, I loved just seeing them like run around and seeing like the physicality of it. And so even in the times when the camera is still, there's so much going on within the frame that it still has that kinetic energy to it. And so whether it's, you know, these quick cuts of the camera or whether it's these still shots but just a lot happening, you constantly feel that just frenetic kinetic energy, and there's just a propulsiveness to this film that I think is really interesting, that is obviously added to by the score. And wow. What an experience. And it's very similar to Uncut Gems in that way, where it's just, it is loud, it is in your face. You are just, I don't know, you're just being like consumed by this score, and that is so loud. It's like almost deafening. And it's just getting you into the mindset of this character, because that's how Marty lives his life, is at this crazy kinetic pace. And the score, the editing, the cinematography, all of that just contributes to us feeling and seeing the world through the eyes of this person.
Yeah, it's so true. The energy and the chaos and that like dizzying pace that we have in the table tennis sequences do not stay contained within those sequences. They are the way that Marty like approaches the world, the way that he's living and moving, this like restless energy. It's very Uncut Gems coded because Adam Sandler's killer also has that same like everything is moving at 10x speed to him, and he moves through the world at 10x speed and is able to somehow balance all of that input constantly, and we feel overwhelmed. Truly, it's an overstimulating experience, but that is the point, so that we are immersed into the headspace of Marty, and so we feel like we're making decisions and having to figure out our life at the same speed and chaos of this character. One of the scenes that I particularly loved, where the sound design really shines, is actually the opening scene where he's in the shoe store and he's selling and people are yelling. And when he's walking out towards the back office, you still hear so much of that conversation just like looming. And it's, they don't turn that down at all, the other tracks and the other like atmospheric conversation. So you're hearing like 17 conversations at once as he's heading into the back room. And I thought, we're so back, baby. We're so back, because Uncut Gems does this. And this movie, from the beginning moments, is like, welcome to this world. Welcome to this mind space. We're going to take you on a journey. And I think that sound design is so well done, because we hear enough but not too much, and it's all perfectly calibrated to be the right amount of overstimulation.
Yeah, there were so many things, or so many times while watching this movie, that I kept thinking about Taxi Driver, and
Oh yeah.
there's the you talking to me scene where, he's rehearsing all of this in the mirror, but you can hear everything that's going on around him. Like, it's very clear that he's in the middle of the apartment. Same thing happens in Raging Bull, they're having these conversations,
Yeah.
but you can hear what's going on with the neighbors too, and people across the street and people yelling, and you know that you are in this place. And obviously Marty Supreme like dials that up to like an 11, but you know where you are in space. You know that you are in this apartment, you know that you are in this store, and other real people are here doing things, doing life. And I think that
Yeah.
helps like really ground you in this film, because Marty does a lot of wild stuff, but it feels still grounded at the same time. And I think a lot of those like atmospheric choices help us really believe that this is happening, rather than this almost being like too fantastical.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. Oh, it's so well done. And I think the comparison to Raging Bull is particularly interesting. I was thinking about Raging Bull especially much when we had a couple table tennis matches. We see this character sitting in the restaurant looking out across at a blonde woman that is unattainable, but he's like, I need to get her because I need to prove that I can do anything. And I'm like, oh, well, this feels a little familiar, doesn't it? That's some Jake LaMotta coded stuff so hard, and just barrels forward because he needs to live in the world in this way where he can do whatever he wants. He can get whatever he wants. He can get whomever he wants. And that's that like need to prove, that need to self actualize, that is insatiable. And Jake LaMotta suffers from that same obsession, that same ego and pride of like, I can be king. I can conquer everything. And Raging Bull takes a different turn, I think, of its thesis, but Marty Supreme has a lot of that, especially in the opening section for sure.
It's also just an interesting comparison point, because in Raging Bull, Jake, you know, wants to be the champion. He wants to be number one, and boxing versus table tennis, very different things, very different sports, very different times too.
Yeah.
And even if Marty were to be number one and champion of the world, like it's not as big of a prize as like Jake was going after. So I think that
Mhm.
that's also just an interesting part of Marty Supreme, is that if even if he became, the best table tennis player in the world, it wouldn't afford him the accolades like a lot of other sports might. And so I think that that's an interesting piece of it, that Obviously, he wants the money that comes from that, the glory that comes from that, but I think it's mostly just this, like, internal, like, I know that I'm the best and I need everybody else to know that I am also the best,
Mhm.
aside from any other accolades that he might get, because they're kind of a pittance compared to what some other sports might pay out. So that's just
Mhm.
an interesting part of this character too, that he wants to be number 1. He wants to be the best in the world, but, like, it's not a sport that a lot of people pay attention to or knew, especially back then.
Mhm. Yeah, and we see that dynamic play out in subtle ways when he's introducing himself to new characters and whatnot. He's like, I'm the best table tennis player in the world, and they're like, table tennis, and he's like, yeah, table tennis. So what do you want? What do you want? And it's not respected. He talks about that too in comparison to tennis. Like that has the resources, that has the prestige, and this does not. They're wearing black shirts instead of the cool white shirts with the orange balls. But he's got a lot of ideas too. Once again, like, gosh, this character that is so flawed, brilliant in so many ways. Like, he's got vision for how to elevate this sport and market it, and he has that business brain to think about how do we get people to care, how do we create atmosphere for this sport that we love and people don't care about. Like, they're kind of on point, and I think that's the unfortunate part, is that, like, you hate to see a character like this be right a lot of the times, but he is. He's there's something to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's he's so frustrating as a character because, like, he is good at table tennis. He
He is
does have
great.
good ideas. He is paying attention and is aware and can improve things. Like, he's not wrong. And
Yeah.
yet he's going about things in the most stressful, chaotic, unlikable way. And I think that that is what helps make this character interesting, because if he was even, like, mediocre at these things and going through things in a chaotic way, he wouldn't be as interesting to follow. But the fact that
Mhm.
he's right and can, like, read people and read situations the way that he does, and chooses to do chaos as a result of that, makes him more interesting to follow. Like, I was just curious the whole time. It was this morbid curiosity of, what will this person do next, because he is making so many wrong choices, but I'm seated. I want to know what he's going to do next.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, gosh, the selfishness is wild. Like, I think the moments it was really hard to watch is when he sees that another character is clearly suffering and he still chooses his agenda with almost like this cold-hearted, utter lack of consideration. That's it. Just those are the moments where I'm like, I was buying into this. I cannot do this anymore. That shot where he needs another necklace from Kay, and he opens the door and he sees her sobbing, and they've shared so much time together, and he's still just like, but I need what I need from this. Like, Rachel, perfect example of this. Time and time again, she is suffering, and yet he is like, can you do this one more thing for me? Like, no. So I don't know. Yeah, I think the last ending shot of the movie, though, is particularly interesting because it can be read in so many different ways. We've never seen emotion and tears like that before. And to see your own son, does that change you or does it not? And I think the open-endedness of, like, where this character's trajectory will go is really fascinating, because there is a moment of change. We've never seen this from him before. Throughout the entire film, he is so locked in, and he does not ever express emotion in this way. And yet we see something really real in him. So the optimists will be like, a change of heart. And the cynics are like, nah, man, he's gonna do the same thing again. And I think that's really fun too, is that we don't know, but we do feel like, gosh, this moment is pivotal for this character because we've never seen it the entire movie up until this point. He's been cold-hearted and selfish, but does seeing your child change you?
We will never know.
Mm,
And at least
thank
not
God.
in Marty's case.
Nope.
And so I think that that's so brilliant to leave it open ended like that. And you can
Yes.
read into it what you want to, and all of those things are there. And I think that that's one of my favorite things is when a movie can do a kind of ambiguous ending like
Mm,
that and it work. And
hmm.
this film, it absolutely works.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. I initially watching the ending was upset because I'm like, that's not the one that I wanted. Give me the tragic ending. The character that gets everything they want, but nothing at the end. Because I love that. Uh, but I do think this is a better ending to allow us and to have the conversations with all of the people after the movie of like, does he change? Is he capable of change? Or does he not? Is there no hope for him? Is there hope for him or not at all? Is his heart soft enough to ultimately be moved for better, or will it always have this hole that needs to be filled forever until he gets himself killed somehow? Yeah.
Which, with all of his shenanigans, are not not out of the realm of possibility. Like,
Right.
oh my gosh,
Like
the
Rockwell's coming
choices
for
that
you.
he makes are insane. I'm like, what are
Yeah.
you doing, my guy?
He's crossed too many people.
Too many. My
Yeah.
goodness.
Okay. Any other last thoughts about Marty Supreme before we wrap?
I would like to give a shout out to Tears for Fears. Great band. And that final shot when everybody wants to rule the world was like the music was coming in. I was jamming in my seat. I was having the best time. I was like, this is great. Marty, you're having this emotional experience, but I am having fun listening to Tears for Fears at such a loud volume. I was having a great time in my seat. So shout out to Tears for Fears. Everybody go listen to some Tears for Fears. It will improve your day.
Mhm. Also, genius ending
Yes.
sequence
So
choice,
good.
you know? Like, let us not rule the world, everybody. Let's not want that because then you end up like this. So good. Yeah, I mean, I think my final thought is just please go watch this in a theater. It is so worth it. I I there's few movies where I leave the theater being like, I want to do that all over again. And this was one of them. I'm so excited to get to see this, hopefully again in theaters if time and schedules allow, because I think it would be even more fun on a second watch to like know where we're going and to experience like all of the funny moments all over again, to be in this deranged headspace all over again. Again, I think it'd be really fun. So, um, it also is a testament to all of those technical components that we mentioned, the sound design, the cinematography, the score, the editing. Like it begs to be seen on a big screen with big speakers. So I'm excited to see how Marty Supreme continues to gain momentum. It's been really exciting for me also to see like people in my life have this movie on their radar that aren't movie lovers, but got a lot of star power, some genius casting choices. Tyler, the creator, plays Willie, who has a huge fan base. So, like, A24 obviously has invested a lot in the marketing too. So that's helping. But I think this is a movie that is like truly cinema that people can show up for and have a great time, have thoughts, have things to talk about. And let's bring people into the theaters with Marty Supreme, you know? Go watch
Hmm.
Timmy be insane and
Yeah.
yeah, some of your favorite like well-known stars be on your big
Hmm.
screen for a movie that has a lot to say
Yeah.
and doing cinema well. So
Well, and like
exciting.
shout out to Timothy Chalamet for using his fame and his star power to try and get people into the theater too.
For
You
something
know,
like this. Yeah.
I love it when you see these big stars and they understand how to use that star power and understand the importance of seeing a movie like this in the
Hmm.
theater. And so that's also just been cool to watch him really like putting his weight behind this film and like, hey, like people go see this because it
Mhm.
does need to be seen in the theater. And there's some movies that you watch and you're like, that I'm glad that I watched it in the theater because it's a
Yes.
magical experience, but you don't need to see it in the theater. And I feel like Marty Supreme is one that you absolutely need to go see in the theater. You cannot replicate this experience at home.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And this movie has mass appeal. Like it'll speak to the teenagers, it'll speak to the young people, it'll speak to the older people. Like I think there's something here for everyone. It's entertaining, but there's also a lot to sink your teeth into. Like it's checking a lot of boxes that I'm like very thrilled to see a movie be able to capture the moment right now. So excited to see that continue to unfold. We can't recommend Marty Supreme enough. If it's not clear, go watch this in the biggest theater possible. And we're excited to follow what Marty Supreme continues to do for movies. But in the meantime, we hope you all have an amazing week. We'll talk again very soon with more movie reviews. Thank you for listening to today's episode of Movies and Us. We are part of the Movie Archer podcast network, so check out moviearcher.com to learn more.
Our name sums it up. We're all about movies and the powerful ways we can connect with each other and the world around us. This podcast is about all of us and our shared stories.
You can subscribe to this podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you tune to your favorite shows. Drop us a rating and review, letting us know your thoughts about today's episode.
Connect with us on Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Movies and Us Pod, or email us at moviesanduspod@gmail.com. Check out our website, andusmedia.co, for the latest on Movies and Us and our other podcast, TV and Us.
We hope you have an amazing week, and we can't wait to see y'all very soon.